Hey guys, welcome to an SS Aquascapes build video. Today we're going to be rebuilding the Super Shallow Waterfall Aquarium that I did a couple of months ago. If you're new to the channel, then you never saw this, but I think you can kind of get the gist of it. Let's take a closer look though to catch you up to speed before we tear it down. So as the name suggests, it is super shallow. Put my hand here for scale. We only have about 4 fingers worth of water here. There was a white cloud mountain minnows in here, only like 6 of them, but they had babies. And so I moved them up here into another aquarium so that they could go live out their life in a little bit more water. And they got replaced with some crayfish that came out of another build that I tore down. Some of you may know where these guys came from. So once the crayfish went in there, I just kind of let it do its thing. The waterfall is not waterfalling anymore. It used to come down from right there, but I moved that filter out, which was the pump, and I actually put it in your subscriber build aquarium down here because, well, I'm using that filter for something else. Which brings us to where we're at now, and that is with the Hygger tripartita species Japan just kind of taking over everything. Those that remember this build, there used to be a bunch of garden weeds back here. There's one right there that's in the middle of your screen. This is just yard weeds. I said garden weeds. Yard weeds. Where's another one? Here we go. Look at this little guy. There was some yard weed stuff that I put in there, and it looked pretty cool. Some grasses and things. But the Hygger tripartita decided it was going to take over everything, so now we have this. So here's the plan. First off, I want to redo the waterfall to kind of make it bigger, have more levels, different planting areas. I want more water in the aquarium for all of those white cloud mountain minnows, so we want the water level about halfway now. Because we're going to have more water, we're going to add better filtration. I have a Fluval 107 that I took off of a build I tore down, so we're going to use this to power the waterfall and filter the aquarium. Now, because this build is going to be pretty extensive, I'm going to try and keep the video as concise as possible. I do have some surprises during the build for the fishies there, so we'll see if we can incorporate that into your guys' video. But for the most part, I'm just going to do this in stages and give you updates along the way. First step, let's get it torn down so we can get all these little crayfish out of here. Alright, I thought you would like to see that part there, just that big massive amount of tripartita. Kind of cool, but at the same time it choked out all the other cool little plants I had underneath it. So now really for the rest of it, all we've got is just like some Anubias that's in the water here. Not really gonna film taking the Anubias out. I can't even get it out. There we go. It's pretty simple. You just pluck it right out of the old water here and boom, Anubias. So I'm going to take these little plants out of here. I'm going to tear down all the rocks essentially, clean out all the gravel, catch all the crayfish, all the boring stuff, and we'll be back with a clean slate to redo all of it. All right, as you can see behind me, I've got the aquarium all cleaned up and ready for a new scape. So here is all the granite that came out of the scape as well as some stuff I had left over. So we should have plenty of stone to make a really good kind of mountainous waterfall. And then this is the old spider wood that came out of the aquarium. I don't think I'm going to reuse this. In this little tub here, I have some of the plants I know I'm reusing. We've got some weeping moss I want to reuse. I liked how that was growing before the tripartita here took over. I do have some tripartita. I'm going to reuse a little bit of that. There's some of this weed, just yard weed. I don't even know what it is, but this stuff here, I liked it. I'm going to reuse it, let it grow. We've got some mondo grass here that I pulled out. And then this is the immersed version of a cardinal plant, which is really cool because underwater they're just green, but out of water they're like purpley. Now a lot of it broke when I was removing it, so I only have a couple pieces that have roots here. We will probably trim these as well once we get the roots replanted, but we know we're using that. And then in the bucket here I have a little bit of Physidens moss, a little bit of Monte Carlo, a little bit of S. repens, which you can't see with the light. There we go. Little S. repens, little Monte Carlo, and a little bit of Anubias. All right, so I'm going to keep that in mind, the plants that I have while I'm creating this aquascape. Now, previously when I had this done, I filled in every little nook and cranny because the soil was down here, and I didn't want the fish to swim in there, and I didn't want the soil to fall out and stuff like that. I'm still going to create kind of plateau areas where we're going to be planting, but underneath it, I'm going to leave it more open this time. So the special surprise I have for the fish is I'm going to create a cave area over here where the filter inlet is, and the fish can kind of swim in and out of that little cave area, and it'll give them more room to swim. The rest of it, I've got to try and figure out how I'm going to create these different tiered levels. Probably going to do like one over here and a higher one over here. I'm not really quite sure yet. So that being said, I'm not going to film a bunch of this until I get to a stage where I have something interesting to show you. So I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to jam out and get something going here, and then I'll show it to you. All right, here's where I'm at so far. We have the Fluval 107 down here, and I've got the hoses run up, so I kind of have an idea of what's going on. As you can see, we have our intake on the left and our outflow on the right. This is going to be the waterfall side of it. I already have a cave kind of started for the little fishies. Hopefully they'll enjoy going back in there and hiding out. I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to do this outflow yet. Some people had mentioned in the previous build they wanted the waterfall higher. I don't really want it too high because I don't want the possibility of it splashing out or slipping and falling and breaking and whatever that could cause water to just be pumped out of the aquarium. So I'm going to keep working on this side here, see if I can hide the intake side over here as well. All right, guys, I am scrapping the waterfall idea 100%. I think I'm going to do more of a terraced kind of levels, where I can put some plants and stuff in to let them kind of drape down over. And I'm going to run the inlet just down at the bottom and kind of swirling around the aquarium here. Create some flow. The White Cloud Mountain Minnows, they do like flow. Reason being that this just looks stupid. Let's be honest here. Trying to get this hose to be hidden on the outflow, it just looks dumb. So instead of being dumb, I'm just gonna build an aquarium. Just being real with you guys, you know I don't hide anything on the channel, so here's your real YouTube content. At any rate, these things happen, right? Sometimes you get something in your head and it just doesn't work out the way you want. So let's shift gears. Instead of making a stupid aquarium, let's make a cool aquarium, see what I can come up with. So back to the drawing board and update coming up. Before I start hiding all of this pipe work here, I thought you'd like to see how it's set up. You already saw the inflow side here to the filter. That is just what comes with the kit, except this mesh strainer on the intake there. That is aftermarket, link in description. And here is the outflow of the filter. Now I have multiple Fluval kits, so I was able to use an additional collar here to run that down lower so I can create kind of a bottom flow. So using a couple of different kits, that's how I have it set up. Now let's get some rocks in and start giving you some entertaining content. All right, guys, we're getting somewhere. We have our first kind of cave set up over here. Everything is glued, including the bottom stones. I have them glued to the aquarium because, well, this kept falling down. So everything's glued together, and that's going to make a base for me to build upon and then make a planting platform here. On the other side over here, we are constructing another cave that's going to be, well, kind of very similar. We're going to make a planting area in the back, Not quite sure how all this is going to come together yet, but this is being glued. We come up and zoom you in here, you'll be able to see we got some paper towel and super glue stuffed into the cracks there. That's how we're securing everything together. We want our base to be secure because I don't want little fish under the cave here and then something happens down the road, it collapses, and we squish a fish. So I'm going to keep working for a little bit here and see what I can come up with. This is probably not going to stay in that position, so don't write your crazy comments yet. I'm going to angle it a little bit. This one's going to be kind of a forward-facing cave, and I'm thinking this one over here will be kind of a side-facing cave. I just can't move it yet because it's curing, drying, whatever. Progress is being made. We're starting to get some planting areas built here with some rock structure. You can see that we're gluing some pieces in place here. They do sit naturally, but I like to get some super glue in there. Maybe I can zoom in and show you. I like to get some glue joints there just to make sure it's not going to fall apart over time. And you can see here we kind of have a planting pocket developing here. I know it looks really weird right now, but trust me, later on it's going to look great. We're going to fill these areas in here with filter floss so the soil doesn't fall in the back or down that little crevice right there. But we'll get to that in a minute. We've got the right side pretty much done, except it looks a little weird right there, doesn't it? You're like, ugh. Come on, Steve, that's not natural. How about now? Is that better? See, we're still building, guys. We're still building. You got to add some accent rocks here and there. Once we get some gravel and soil in the bottom too, of course it'll look a lot better. The rocks kind of do what they want to do, and that's how you get these arrangements when you're dealing with stones like this. They fit together just kind of the best way they can. So we've softened up the left side here with this rock right in the middle of your screen. You can see it tapers down very nicely here. Kind of draws the eye to the middle where we added 2 more stones. Created a planting area in the back. I'll show you in a second. And then on the left side here, well, I don't really know what this is. It is just a mountain of stone. It looks kind of weird right now with the overhangs and the, I don't know, not real natural looking pile. But I think when we get some rocks and substrate in the bottom here to soften that edge, and then we get some moss and stuff in there, maybe it'll look okay. On this side here, we've got a planting area in the back, which has been filled in with filter floss so that our soil doesn't just run down in between the rocks. That should allow our cave structure here to, well, remain a cave without getting filled in with soil. And then in the middle here, we have a little planting area in the back. I think I know what's going there. And then, of course, on the left side, we have a planting area up top. Here's our water line right here in the middle of your screen. Pardon all the light reflections. Probably should have turned those off, but that's about where the water line's going to be, if you can see that. So I think I have the planting areas set properly this time versus the first time we did this. All right, it's the next day. All of the rocks have had plenty of time to sit and that super glue dry, and everything is rock solid, no pun intended. Anyway, time to start getting this thing wrapped up. The first step is I'm going to take some of these little Thrive caps that I got on Amazon, not sponsored in any way, but I'm going to take these little capsules here and going to take these guys here and open up 2 or 3 of them, just sprinkle them in the bottom area down here just to give it a little bit of extra nutrients. Then I'm going to be filling that area with some Fluval stratum just because I have it laying around. And then for this area here in the front, or really just kind of the whole bottom, I'm going with kind of a gravel. I've got like a white gravel that's mixed with some SeaChem Fluorite Black. And so it kind of mimics the black and white of the granite. So maybe it looks like crushed granite on the bottom of the lake bed or something. I don't know. All right, there's really no good angle here for you to see down in this hole to kind of see what I'm doing here. So I'll just show you taking this root capsule here and just sprinkling some of the ingredients. That's it, just a little extra nutrition. Now to see if my filter floss job was done correctly. I'm not going to fill this all the way up right now. I'm going to stick the plants in there and then pour the soil kind of around and over top of them. Looks pretty good in there. You can see we got some soil down in the bottom there. And I don't see it spilling out in the cave anywhere. Maybe 1 or 2 little pieces, but should be all right. Put some on this side over here. This side is a shallower planting area, so I have to keep that in mind. And I think I'm going to put a little soil in this back area here because I'm going to plant something, I think, back here. But I'm not sure what yet. Put a little soil back here. Should fill in this little pocket. And if it mixes, not a huge deal. Okay, Now for the foreground here, we're kind of all over the aquarium. Get this stuff in first because once we start the planting process, we need to get the water filled up. So just drop some of this back in here. Oh, we have leaves. That's natural. I dried this outside, so I end up getting leaves and stuff in there. Let's just do a small test here first and see how it's going to look. All right, what do you guys think? Think it'll look all right? I think once we get a little bit of algae and stuff on there, just like the last aquarium, it'll look a lot more natural and a lot better. I don't know why I'm asking you anyway. You're just watching a completed video. And there we go. That's what it looks like with gravel in there. Now I am thankful for two things. One, that I did this off camera because it was a very difficult process to get it under these little cave areas while still maintaining a cave area. And two, I'm thankful that I glued the rocks together so that the whole thing didn't fall down while I was trying to get the gravel in the cave area. Here's a good example of trying to get it all the way back down in that cave, but still, you know, have a place for the fish to go in there. Now, before we get going here with the planting, I think it's missing something. And that something is right here in the middle, a piece of wood. It just looks a little too plain. If I'm going for kind of like a river look or something like that, I think we need like a piece of wood that has drifted in there. And that, to me, just adds kind of a finishing touch. One little piece of wood. I'm going to glue it in there so it doesn't go anywhere. We'll be able to attach a couple little plants there in the middle as well. What do you think? Let me know. Wood or no wood? I'm going wood. All right, wood is attached and we're ready to start planting. I'm just gonna do this kind of cutscene style here. So we gotta get the plants in, and then right after that, I gotta get water in here so they don't dry up and die. All right, we're all planted. Let's go through the plants real quick. Starting from the top left here, we have a cardinal plant that is grown immersed. We have some mondo grass, a little of this, I don't know, running weed, this little clover looking thing. Another yard weed that I don't know what it is, but that should fill in nicely. I love these little kind of lily pad looking weeds I found out back. Over here on the right, big old thing of mondo grass, two big old cardinal plants right here. I keep wanting to call this golden rod, but it's not golden rod. I'll put it on the screen what this thing is. It's something golden, but it does better immersed than it ever did in an aquarium for me. Moving down, got a piece of Anubias nana here. Not petite, I don't think. It's just Anubias nana. We've got some weeping moss, a little piece of S. repens over here. Now, S. repens will grow this way once you get some detritus down there. I've done it before. There's a pretty sterile environment right now, but we'll see if it takes. Got a little bit of weeping moss here under the rocks, which should look awesome once it kind of fills in a little bit. Another piece of Anubias and some moss, Anubias. And then here at the very beginning, you saw me putting some Monte Carlo in here. I've had better luck growing Monte Carlo as an epiphyte than I ever have in soil. So I decided to put it on our piece of wood here instead of moss, and see if we can get some Monte Carlo draping over that piece of wood. It's going to look awesome. The top part of the wood is going to be kind of out of the water a little bit, so it's going to look nice having the contrast between bare wood and a little Monte Carlo. Down here in the kind of shadowy spot, I put a little bit of Physidens moss. It looks shadowed here on the, well, focus. It looks shadowed here, but I promise you it is in the light. So that should look nice, little bush of Physidens. Back here in that little soil spot, I put the Tripartita, the species Japan, Hydrocotyle tripartita. It is in the back over here in that little planting area. I think what it's going to do is kind of run all over the place, and I'll be able to tuck it back in there. Very similar to how I did in this aquarium. Over here, the shrimp aquarium, you see how I just have this big ball of kind of tripartita back there? I think it's going to look amazing if it happens in this aquarium over here, back in the corner. So that's going to look cool. Left side here, you saw just a little piece of Anubias, some S-repens down there next to the cave, some weeping moss again, just to kind of hide that rock transition, and then a little bit of S-repens there. All right, the aquarium's filled with water. The filter is filled with water. We're ready to turn it on, see what kind of flow we got going around this thing. We'll do that live with you guys right now. 3, 2, 1. There we go. I think the filter is going to be kind of the perfect flow. If they, the little fish, they really want to swim around or get into the flow, they can come over to this side over here where it's a little bit stronger flow. You can see our Anubias plant there is secured with glue for a reason, because I knew it was going to get blown around a little bit, but I like that action. And in the wild, if you ever look too, Anubias usually does sit in current. Their leaves wiggle around, so I think it looks kind of natural that way. Now, moving on over to this side over here, you can see that the flow is much gentler where the inlet is, or the pickup from the tank. Moss isn't even really moving that much, so that's good that the fish have two different areas that they can go to. They can play in the high flow over here if they want, or they can hang out in the middle or hang out on the left or whatever. Also, still looks like a little pond or something because there's not too much water agitation on the surface there. No CO2 going in this aquarium. This is going to be kind of an El Natural, slow growing, which is really my theme anymore, is slow growing, low maintenance. I tell you what, guys, I am way happier with this setup in this aquarium than I was with the original waterfall, or even the kind of revision that I did off camera with that waterfall aquarium. The rocks, I know it looked really funny at first, really weird, and I was concerned, but when you get plants in there and you kind of fill in some of these spaces and soften those rough transitions, that's when the aquariums come together. Time to get in the comments and let me know what you think while I get these fish acclimated here, and then we'll go ahead and drop some fish in. Alright guys, you ready for the big release? Here I've got the mountain minnows and 2 hillstream loaches. They're going to go back in their original home. Let's get them in there. Well guys, they definitely seem happier in there. They're swimming back and forth already, checking out the little high flow area on the right, and then coming back over to the left. They look good from above too, which is really cool about this aquascape, is you can kind of see them from above like they were in a pond, and then also down below the water line. Schooling away, one of my favorite fish. Want to see how comfortable they are real quick. Let's try and feed them right off the bat. See if they want a little food. We'll try just a little bit. They're generally pretty hungry. See how comfortable they are if they'll eat right away. Some of them are eating right away. If they'll eat, it's always a good idea to feed them right when you put them in a new home, so they're like, oh, okay, this is where we get food. Maybe they relax a little bit. Yeah, some of them are eating a little. All right, and that brings us to the end of this build. I had a kind of a hard time with this one here, but I think in the end it turned out pretty good. I'm happy to have the mountain minnows back in their original home there. They seem to be pretty happy about it. The hill streams are hunting for food already. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it for a little bit. But before that, I want to thank you for watching the video, tuning into the channel, hitting the buttons, and all that good stuff you guys to support. This channel is sponsored by you pretty much, so watching the videos is the best thing you can do. Appreciate the support, and I'll catch you guys on the next build or the next update.